Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to WCA America 2015. I am joined by Corey Kubihover.
Ooh.
And I am solid Jake Kalinsky.
That's right. We just witnessed probably one of the closest series in Heroes history between Zevron and Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm barely able to take game number 2 in a crazy comeback. Game number 3, also a sick game on Blackheart's Bay, but they are going to advance to the finals on June 1st here in Burbank. But never mind that, we have another series lined up for you guys. Actually, it's going to be between Cloud9 Maelstrom and 2Arc. I want you guys to get on social media, use the hashtag WCA 2015. Let us know, honestly, what did you guys think of that last series? Because that was insane. But who is going to win in this series here? Who is going to be the other team to face against Tempo Storm?
But all right, Kubi, we have the draft ready, and here it is. And we can see that 2Arc is immediately banning out Lost Viking. The map is Garden of Terror, which is a rather large map, and iDream is known for his wonderful Viking play.
Particularly on this map as well, I have to say. Some of the craziest and most immaculate Vikings play I've seen has been on this map from iDream, so kudos to him, and it's earned him a respect ban from 2Arc, and they respect that power, so they're going to ban that out. They are going to be waiting for Maelstrom's pick or their ban, and what are they going to start us off with? We've seen Kerrigan first pick. Now they had a lot of success in their previous series versus Maelstrom with Kerrigan.
Yeah, but they're denying the Illidan. Now, this does leave Kerrigan open for grabs. Now, like you mentioned, Monday afternoon in the round of 8, we did see 2Arc doing something crazy. They were doing these warrior list compositions with something like Kerrigan or Illidan in the front line. By banning out Illidan, I really do expect to see 2Arc playing Kerrigan or picking Kerrigan early, unless they have shifted their strategy because of this new patch.
Absolutely. We were seeing crazy things. Anubarak was picked all 3 games, running as Locust Swarm style build with the Beetles. That's something we never would have seen before in the previous patch of this game. So yeah, perhaps their strategy has changed quite a bit, but what were they running before? It was, Illidan Kerrigan with Brightwing. They had a lot of support, so I do distinctly remember them stealing away the Brightwing when they could in the previous series between them, because we got to give credit to Cloud9 Maelstrom's Dunk Train. He's really, really good on Brightwing.
But look at this. 2Arc Gaming, the team that is known for having a terrifying Tyrael, and we even see Respect Bans of the Tyrael, is opening with Muradin. Muradin, the warrior that Tempo Storm was very frequently prioritizing, because in this patch, he is really quite good.
Absolutely, but we have to also keep in mind some of the damage that is still available to be picked up. Jaina seems to be within those first 4 picks on either side, and is a very strong choice for Maelstrom to start their draft off with.
But Kerrigan still on the table. I wouldn't be all that surprised if Maelstrom did go for the 2 of them. There is the Jaina, but do they say, look, we do have to respect the fact that you guys are quite good with Kerrigan and pick her up as well? Or do they let it slide under the bus? Because there's so many good options this early in the draft.
Under the tour bus?
Tour bus?
Yeah, okay. I had to get mine in there. All right, so yeah, Cloud9 Maelstrom is still able to pick that up. It's kind of... it's so hard to tell what the teams are going to prioritize. This is, of course, their first series in a competitive Heroes of the Storm environment on this patch. So, like you mentioned, their strategies could have changed wildly from what we saw on Monday.
But Maelstrom has been known for their formidability in the draft. They are actually largely considered to be the best drafters in North America, and they are well aware of all of the changes that are happening with this patch. Whether it be Anubarak with Beetle build, I wouldn't be all that surprised if we saw them bust out something crazy like Sonya.
They could run that as well. Actually, if I recall correctly, they were one of the first teams that actually ran Sonya back after she saw a lot of changes a few patches ago. They are very comfortable with running dive-style compositions. They have the experience playing Anubarak in competitive environments as well, so maybe that's the direction they're looking to go. They have a ton of opportunities.
But they're just going to stick to the standard stuff that is tried and true in this meta. Jaina and Sylvanas. Now, Sylvanas, we saw the power of her being able to lock down those structures, push those lanes back, and we have Jaina here as well. If we do see, this is a map where Promote is quite good. If we do see Promotes on the map, these are 2 heroes that are a great response to that kind of pressure.
Absolutely. Yeah, just providing a huge amount of just structural damage and push, like you were mentioning, basically due to Sylvanas' trait. She is able to shut down any minions and stun out structures as well from firing back. 2Arc, dipping into their bonus pool, they're looking to scoop up some damage possibly. Maelstrom still has not picked up their warrior while 2Arc has. I think perhaps locking in their support, if they have a high preference for one or the other, that being Brightwing or Uther, seems to be the big picks. I think that they should probably do that now.
I think they should steal Brightwing because we talked about Dunk Train's Brightwing. He can flat out win a team fight with the most beautiful emerald wind you've ever seen. It is actually something I want to just screen cap the GIF and put it in a frame. If we lived in Harry Potter land, I would do that.
Absolutely. So I think that makes a lot of sense. You, at any opportunity, like you mentioned, taking that pick away from Brightwing is smart. But okay, so them picking Uther, they're obviously well aware of how strong Dunk Train's Brightwing is. But Uther might mean that they're looking to pick up some kind of a crazy pick that might lend itself towards Divine Shield later on in the draft. Not necessarily going down that direction, but I think if they're not feeling comfortable on Brightwing, but I saw them pick that up in the previous series, so something's up with 2Arc's draft, and I'm curious to see what those last two picks are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about the threat potential of Kerrigan. She loves having invulnerability for 4 seconds. I mean, who doesn't? So that is definitely on the table, but we have seen the power with a new Barak already. But Maelstrom, they see that the Uther is picked up. That's going to signal Dunk Train to scoop up that Brightwing, make sure that both teams have a cleanse available in this game, and we already talked about his Brightwing. It's quite good.
Yeah, cleanse does seem to be a big playmaker throughout this qualifier tournament, and no shortage of that here for either side. Brightwing and Uther, of course, being the only two supports that have that ability. Now, Warrior still hasn't been picked up. Are you seeing anything that's jumping out at you that would fit particularly well into this lineup?
We know they're quite good with ETC, but we've also seen King Caffeine play with a variety of heroes, and that's actually a big part of why I think Muradin was probably prioritized so early. He was the only one playing Muradin in the last patch.
That's true.
And now Muradin's even better, so get him away from King Caffeine. Caffeine, though, honestly, I'm going to say this here now, I think he's probably the best warrior in North America, and there are so many options for him on the table. It all comes down to what he's discovered in this new patch.
And we've seen a variety of very strong warrior plays in that last series. Of course, Muradin, like you mentioned, no slouch there. But honestly, the ETC and the Barak plays were very on point. So they do have options still. And King Caffeine is no stranger to those heroes.
But they are down to just 25 seconds in that bonus pool. Dipping far down, they're thinking about their next picks. They have many options. They could go with Tyrande just to have something in the middle of the road to assist the heals with Brightwing. We've seen a lot of success, but they do the other hero that fills that role, Tassadar. Very middle of the road. He has the vision, the damage, the healing, and Force Wall is a potential on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the control is there through the Emerald Winds, like you mentioned, Archon, as long as the heroes aren't retreating away from him, can get a ton of damage in. Archon is just absolutely a terrifying ability, and so they look to round out these two picks with supports. Tassadar not really being a full support, of course, does have that damage output, but the shield, nothing to scoff at.
All right, well, it is now time for the final two picks of 2Arc Gaming. Kerrigan, still on the table, does pair well with this, and again, Kael'thas, he is in fact banned from this event, but there's so many other options. We haven't seen a whole lot of Tychus in this tournament, but he can be huge on this map. The damage output, he can collect those seeds, and the push potential is there when it comes to the grenades, but they are going to start out with Kerrigan.
Okay, there it is. I knew that there was something that they really wanted to try to line up with the remaining part of their draft, and it is going to be Kerrigan. 2Arc really showing that they have really assimilated to the Kerrigan style of play, and they weren't necessarily a heavy aggression team in this previous patch. I'm thinking back towards the time of the playoffs for ESL Season 1. They didn't run super aggressive compositions, but now they seem to have really adapted well to it.
And look at this, the denial pick on the Warrior. Suddenly, 2Arc has a composition that is very in your face. Muradin, he can throw those stuns out. ETC, he has so much potential to control the battlefield. And then Kerrigan, oh my goodness, Gooby.
Absolutely. But what is going to be the response? So 2Arc looked at the situation and said, they got to be going ETC. Let's try to deny these Warrior pickups. And it could very well be a new Barak. Like I said, that they are well-versed on that hero. Garden of Terror, I'm thinking back, like Chen is kind of a map-specific pick. Oftentimes we'll see him take on Cursed Hollow, and Diablo has just seen probably the most changes of any hero in this patch, and feels like a risky pick maybe if you haven't had the time to practice him. Anubarak is going to be the choice for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
Now, by 2ARC picking up all two warriors like this, in some regards it looks like they're sacrificing a fair amount of damage. But when it boils down to it, they have so much control over the battlefields, there's going to be a big pressure on Brightwing getting those huge Emerald wins.
Absolutely. So, as crazy as it is, 2ARC goes from having no warriors in their round of 8 games to having 2 warriors in their round of 4 game, trying to get that denial pick onto Cloud9 Maelstrom. This can set itself up for a very, very crazy game that we haven't seen the likes of. Anubarak being the sole warrior. That should be particularly interesting. But let's jump into game number 1 between Cloud9 Maelstrom and 2ARC.
And before we do that, guys, get on social media. Use the hashtag WCA 2015 that you can see below. And be sure to follow at WCA_America. Let us know who you think is going to win this best of 3 series, because we're getting ready for game number 1, Kubi.
All right, Jake, let's talk a little bit more about Anubarak. Do you think there's any potential to play him without the beetles, or do you think they're just too strong right now?
Honestly, the beetle build, we've seen how powerful it is, and that's really where he's seen the changes. So I mean, yes, they made it so that his responsiveness and the timing of his Q, the Impale, and of course the Burrow Charge is a little bit more quick, but at the end of the day, the beetles is what makes him such a powerful warrior in this new patch.
Okay, and like we mentioned previously, these two guys have a little bit of history between them. We saw them play just a couple weeks ago in the ESL NA Major League Season 2, and 2ARC was the only team thus far to have been able to take even a match off of Cloud9 Maelstrom. They are undefeated, even down to the map score up until this point, so I'm expecting a really, really good series between these two teams.
Well, the map is loaded up, and we are ready for game number 1, so let's hop on in to see Dragonshire as our Garden of Terror.
That's
for
right.
The first map. They look so similar. They're almost like in the same universe.
That's right. They do have that same feel to them, kind of like that. All right, let's get to introducing these teams. On the left side for 2ARC Gaming, we have Furious D on Kerrigan. Quibsy's going to be on Muradin. Trader playing Vala. Chubbs playing the support role on Uther, and Panucci will be rounding it out on ETC.
But on the red side of the map, on the right, we do have Cloud9 Maelstrom with K1 Pro. On Jaina, Tassadar will be played by iDream. Dunk Train on the infamous Brightwing. Biceps playing Sylvanas, and rounding it out is King Caffeine on the Beetle, Anubarak himself.
Absolutely. 2ARC Gaming. With that Kerrigan, you have to mention that is the potential for a very aggressive lineup. Yes, there it is. We see the scouting drone picked up once again for Brightwing.
Yes, you just have to respect the aggression that can be thrown down from Kerrigan and Muradin. And look at this play. Muradin just walks right in. He is not afraid to remove that scouting drone. But Dunk Train, he has another charge of it.
Absolutely. Okay, and the Beetle build is real once again. Seems to be that's what a lot of the teams are settling on for this Anubarak style of play. Jaina looking to get that extra slow, very likely, up to that 35% from her trait, allows her to chase very, very well.
Look at this, Quipsy is just walking into the back line, blatantly not afraid, but is it going to pay off? Quipsy is taking so much damage, the stun comes out from Anubarak, and that will be a quick kill in favor of Cloud9 Maelstrom.
Absolutely, a little bit of counter aggression from Maelstrom, punishing 2ARC for overextending, trying to pick up that kill on Dunk Train.
All right, well, we can just take a quick look at the talents. Anubarak is, in fact, picking up that Assault Scarab, signaling that he is likely going a full-on Beetle build. We do have the perfect storm for Muradin. Again, making Stormbolt have a place in this game. They're not as worried about having the reverberation in this match.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, because the games we saw Tempo Storm up against an Archon, but hold on a second. Furious D and Chubbs perhaps a little bit out of position. Chubbs barely able to dodge the Impale, but Furious D is going to barely escape. Potentially, no, the last auto attack from Dunk Train is going to be enough. Chubbs is now the next target. Quipsy diving in with that Dwarf Toss to try to get the control. Dunk Train might end up getting picked off, just has one auto attack left, will survive. And actually, this is going to be a huge team fight in favor of Cloud9 Maelstrom.
It was so close. They pushed forward to try to kill Dunk Train, but Jaina came forward. She threw out that Frostbolt to zone and a bit of body blocking just to make sure he stayed alive. Huge plays, 5-0 in favor of Maelstrom at the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, that's crazy. Maelstrom really proving why they are the best team in the NA scene right now. And that set of early kills will really net them a very large seed advantage. You can already see they're up to 43. And honestly, that is a breaking point. When when you take out those large Garden Terrors, they net you 60 seeds. You need 100 seeds to get your own Garden Terror to push down any lane of your choosing. And this means that 2Arc really has to respond if they want to try to deny a Terror from Maelstrom.
It looks like they're giving up this bottom plant terror, which will, in fact, like you mentioned, give them that plant terror very early on. But Quibsy, Chubbs, they're making their way down at the last minute. The Impale comes out from a Nubrek to try to stall them out, and it looks like 2Arc will be successful in forcing them off. Burrow Charge still an option to try to get in there, but no, will not be used. But there is still a plant terror in the top half of the map.
That's right. There is still the potential, of course, for Cloud9 Maelstrom, actually for both teams, to still be able to pick up a terror, depending on how this next fight goes. Now, the early terrors, hold on a second, Tassadar stunned. We'll likely be able to get out King Caffeine, getting into the fray with this, and actually Uther once again is able to get the polymorph and is picked off.
The stuns are ridiculous out of a Nubrek. King Caffeine is making marvelous plays in this match already, and by picking up another kill, putting them at 6, they can start working on this top plant terror, and they only need 24 seeds to get a terror of their own.
A slight deviation in the build for a Nubrek. We're actually seeing the Under King picked up, which is the cooldown reduction and increased range on that Burrow Charge. So that is going to allow him a little bit more mobility in those fights. Interesting that he doesn't go for the regenerating Beetle build.
Yeah, quite interesting, but it all comes down to style, and if hitting those big stuns is what he needs, or maybe those 2 seconds for the escape for Burrow Charge, maybe that could set the difference. He's tried and true, I guarantee this build.
Hey, wow, look at this. Yes. Oh, they have 2 more seeds to pick up. Do they have it? Yes, okay. A Garden Terror was picked up for 2Arc Gaming, which is crazy considering the first 40 seeds were picked up for Maelstrom, and somehow 2Arc was able to bully Maelstrom off of those Garden Terrors.
That's huge for them. They are still a full level down, but this is going to help quite a bit. Having the Garden Terror is not only a big presence in terms of structural damage, but the Queen's Curse is an AoE polymorph that you can throw on the ground. You can make some massive plays happen.
Absolutely, and we can see it marching down this top lane right here. Chubbs actually receiving quite a few CCs from King Caffeine and the crew, not able to pick him up. Okay, Panucci in the Garden Terror is going to try to fight back and get some push in this mid lane.
But you can see that overgrowth he threw down, melted that wave with quick fashion, and King Caffeine will be using the Burrow Charge to escape in that situation, and we actually see the Healing Ward picked up by Tassadar, used behind that wall to make sure it'll be safe for a fair amount of time.
Yeah, very interesting. So maybe Cloud9 Maelstrom is looking at Healing Ward and the nerf that it received. Well, I guess we don't really know yet. I guess the verdict is still out on it. And hold on a second, Jaina able to apply enough damage, and that's not invincibility with that Dwarf Toss. He actually still took damage from the second wave of Blizzard hopping through.
Yeah, that was some very, very nice play by Quibsy, just knowing the exact moment of how to stun, Dwarf Toss back, and still be able to stay alive in the situation, because most Murder players would have fallen in that case.
Okay, Panucci just trying to throw down the last bits of overgrowth to get some more structural damage for his team. The levels have evened up just a little bit, still a half-level advantage for Cloud9 Maelstrom at the moment.
All right, but the Plant Terror is down to just about 15 seconds. He might be able to get a final overgrowth out, and that looks like it will be the case. King Caffeine and Dunk Train are doing their best to eliminate it, and it will fall rather fast. And we are seeing those level 10 talents approach rather quickly, Coops.
Absolutely, but before then, let's talk about the level 7 talents that have been grabbed. A cleanse on either side seems to be the story of today's games, especially in this patch. Cleanse very good to try to deal with this early aggression from either side. Beetle build coming back again. We do have that leeching damage from any of the beetles that are attacking for a Nubrek. And the other thing I wanted to talk about too is the Muradin build, which is interesting. I didn't get a chance to finish this thought on this, but Tempo Storm, when they were up against an Archon, they really made sure that they had the Reverberation and the Thundershock, the crowd control right there. Actually, no, wait, that is the cooldown reduction.
Yep.
So that's an interesting pickup in itself. But they're not prioritizing that auto attack reduction on the Archon, which can really do a lot to negate its damage output.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, but it all comes down to style, and by having this Muradin build, I mean, he just has the permanent damage upgrade with the Perfect Storm and Piercing Bolt at 1, maybe 2 targets when you have a huge situation, and maybe that's what it takes, because body blocking becomes impossible if it's going to pass through that target. But Furious D will get hit by the combo. The Wailing Arrow went out to secure the kill, but that was a heroic spent. But Quibsy also going to end up falling 2 for nothing. 8 kills to 0 in this game, Kubi.
The CC, but the silence was a big deal in that last fight in securing a lot of those kills. Not able to use their escape mechanisms to dive out of the way. We do have the heroics picked up for either side, so let's go through those really quick. We have the Emerald Wind for Dunk Train is going to be on Brightwing. Of course, we saw that silence arrow going out. Nubrak still has yet to decide. We have the Water Elemental on Jaina, and of course the Archon.
But Kubi, I am wiggling in my chair because Haymaker has been picked up. They made a change where it is now a 40-second cooldown, but Dunk Train is getting quite low, forced to blow the Emerald Wind. Panucci is pushed way far forward, but we see the Divine Shield from Chubbs will be enough to keep him alive, making the best out of that situation.
Okay, this is crazy. The Haymaker, yes, the cooldown was reduced to 40 seconds. That's probably the shortest, aside from Blink Heal and Napalm Strike, of all the heroics in the game. So it can be used very liberally in these team fights. So just look to see any target that gets knocked really far back and out of position. There it is, Biceps knocked out of the fight. But is it going to be enough to follow up to get a kill for 2R Gaming?
Yeah, with them, this fight is all over the place right now. iDream is being chased down by Trader and Furious D. Biceps going forward with a Haunting Wave, but no, he will end up falling. Primal Grasp picking up the kill, 2 for 1 in favor of 2ARC right now, but K1 Pro is looking to pick up another kill, but Trader with a strafe.
Yeah, that's going to be a big strafe, and Quibsy, if he can provide enough control for this, the Polymorph will silence him out. No. And actually, the stage dive is going to quite miss, and he's not going to be able to get there in time. Yes, K1 Pro is going to be able to get over the wall, but the next target is Dunk Train, forced to use that Emerald Wind to escape.
Very unfortunate. The Primal Grasp of Kerrigan missed, and like you mentioned, the stage dive not far forward enough. K1 Pro will escape by the skin of her teeth.
Absolutely. And all while this is going on, King Caffeine punishing this top lane with the Garden Terror for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
All right, guys. Well, we do see that the seeds are still available. This is the Plant Terror for Cloud9, but there's 120 seeds still on the table. So it's about splitting up the options on the map. We see Furious D and Chubbs trying to defend this, but there is a big battle happening down here, and Panucci is in a tough spot.
Yeah, not going to be able to survive the Side Storm and Blizzard that were thrown out from the damage dealers on Cloud9 Maelstrom's side. Again, still, we have that Garden Terror pushing in the top lane. A huge amount of seeds are going to be netted for Cloud9.
Yeah, 10 kills to 2 at this point in time. The Guarded Terror will expire in 1 second. There it goes. And King Caffeine will resume his beetle life as he rides away in his carpet.
Okay, and Nubarak was able to pick up one of his heroics. That is going to be the Locust Swarm for that extra sustain in the fights. And I see one of his Carapace upgrades. I'm going to go ahead and guess that is the Carapace for the Locusts. No, okay, actually it's just 40% increase for his, that's just extra sustainability for King Caffeine on Nubarak,
making him more like a tank, a unique build coming out of Caffeine today. Right now we have the Primal Grasp going in, the Unstoppable Force comes out, and the Wailing Arrow connects with both Uther and Kerrigan, but the shield comes out at the last possible moment to keep Arvala alive, and there is a stage dive from Panucci executing this fight in the back line, but Chubbs will end up falling either way.
Yeah, it seems as though the healer has been prioritized a lot of times in these fights. King Caffeine making the dive to move forward. They want to be able to pick up more kills right now. They have a 3-for-0 advantage. This will net them a 4 in the top lane.
And this also has granted them yet another Plant Terror available. They were able to dominate this night phase with the distraction from the last Plant Terror they had. This will give them not only another Terror, but they have 34 more seeds on deck for the next night phase.
Yeah, that means they only need to take a full Terror in just one of the side camps to really net themselves, set themselves up for another Terror. We've seen the games over this past week that have been played on this map. If you can set yourself up an opportunity, I think it was actually Cloud9 Maelstrom that had like 3 or 4 Plant Terrors in a row lined up just in succession. It was so difficult to stop that amount of push, and Cloud9 Maelstrom is really looking to set up that type of play once again.
Right now, it is level 13 to 15, and that means when Cloud9 hit 16, they will have a talent advantage. There is a very small window in which 2ARC is on even footing, and they're going to try to pick up a kill, throwing everything they have onto Dunk Train. The stage dive comes in, but the Dwarf Toss, or the Haymaker from Muradin, actually allows him to survive a massive misplay.
Oh, I'm sure they're yelling about that in comms right now. It is a unique talent, but if you do not coordinate it quite well enough with the rest of your team, it can cause huge mishaps. That would have been a great opportunity for 2ARC to try to take a map advantage back. Unfortunately, knocking back one of the solo supports on Cloud9 Maelstrom, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, it is really rough, and that's mentally debilitating in that situation, but we do have the team just making sure they bully this plant terror back the best they can. King Caffeine is able to apply a lot of pressure with this guard terror because his health points are still at 60%, and they're just forced to chase this while Cloud9 just roams around the map, soaking experience and just taking complete control.
Speaking of soaking experience, Cloud9 Maelstrom does hit that level 16 talent tier, double blood for blood, a critterize. Is that the second strike or the slow?
Second strike
has been second
picked
strike.
up.
That's a lot more AoE damage available, especially when you consider that static shock picked up at level 7 for our the Archon, of course, that being Tassadar.
Yes, but we have that numbing blast for Jaina and the critterize for Brightwing. So much control and power they just picked up and just burst damage. But the poly does go out, and this could be a small window if they decide to go for it. But you got to remember, it's 15 to 17 in favor of Maelstrom.
Absolutely why we see them getting aggressive, taking mercenary camps onto our side of the map. It looks as though this is going to be a difficult type of play to contest, and you can see they realize this is happening, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, all they're doing right now is just pushing those lanes back, soaking the best they can, and Maelstrom is happy to scoop up the bruisers, the giants, and everything they can because they have control over this fight, and the night phase shouldn't be all that far off.
Absolutely. We see ETC in the top lane doing that sort of split push soak. 2Arc realizes they need to hit level 16 before they can be on even footing for one of these fights. Is he going to be forced to use a stage dive? Tassadar in the top lane providing a little bit of push, is able to escape back behind his lines. That is a huge cooldown that you don't want to end up wasting.
Yeah, that is very true, but the Giants will be cleaned up in a rather quick fashion, but that's just going to allow Maelstrom to pick up more Giants. They will have successfully painted the map almost completely red as the bottom right Giants have been picked up, but we do see Torque getting aggressive. They have that level 16, and this is their time to make something happen. They go for the kill on Tassadar, and will they succeed? The Wailing Arrow comes out, picking up the kill on Jaina, and there's the stage dive and Emerald Wind. Combos going out left and right. Uther has fallen, and it looks like Maelstrom is going to survive. Jaina does fall. Quibsy is in a tight spot and murdered or gets stunned out twice by a Nubarek. Huge plays and the slow coming out. Oh my goodness, he will fall.
The DOT was enough to take out Murden. That is a 4-for-1 advantage in that pass fight for Cloud9 Maelstrom. Wow. Okay, so that one, we saw a really crazy Emerald Wind in that fight, but just the way it started out, they really shouldn't have prioritized taking out Tassadar. That's just like time and time again we've seen teams make that mistake. They came really, really close to being able to burst him down, but if you don't quite kill him, he is going to be able to use his Prescience and Dimensional Warp to get away, and that's just, you know, opportunity and resources lost onto that target.
Yeah, I mean, you're spending all that time pushing yourself in an aggressive position, and then you can just get obliterated after he goes into the shadows, and that's what we saw. 93 seeds on the board for Maelstrom right now. 2 Plant Terrors remain. That's 120 available.
All right, so level 16 was hit for 2Arc Gaming. Double Imposing Presence, 2 Blood for Bloods. This is a very interesting pickup, considering that they didn't prioritize the attack speed reduction on the Reverberation at level 1 for Murden. They're taking 2 Imposing Presence.
Now, this is going to help really mitigate the damage of the Archon that you talked about earlier today. But right now, 2Arc is actually doing a great job. They're bullying back Cloud9 with Murden, and they're doing their best to scoop up these seeds in the bottom lane. Problem being is Maelstrom is rotating up. They only need 7 seeds, and they will be able to get those very quickly off that top plant terror.
I'll tell you another problem for 2Arc is the looming level 20. That is going to be a huge power spike for Cloud9. They're probably going to grab things that are going to be able to keep them alive. Lots of mobility. I'm guessing Bolts of the Storm, Storm Shield, and then Hardened Shields probably for a Nubarak. It's just going to be so difficult to make the kills.
Well, there goes ETC with the stage dive once again going on to Tassadar, but they separate a Nubarak and blow him up very quickly. K1 Pro is falling quite fast, but Bolt of the Storm, that level 20 talent, was picked up at a snap call, and he survives.
Oh, the triple rewind is actually grabbed. That is very interesting. That is going to provide even more control. We talked about the CC potential that Cloud9 Maelstrom would have in their fights, but with rewind on a Nubarak, I mentioned this before, that's why he was so strong when he had it at level 13. That's double polymorph. And the rewind on Tassadar actually is particularly interesting.
This is actually just super cool. Imagine how hard it is to kill Tassadar as it is now with Prescience and the Dimensional Warp. If he can Dimensional Warp again, he will heal up so much and just be impossible to eliminate.
That's absolutely true. Okay, and with the second strike as well, that is a huge amount of AoE if you reset that basic abilities cooldown. So a lot of very interesting pickups in this new patch for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
All right, well, they're working on these top giants, and we can see the Garden Terror has been summoned by Maelstrom. We're at the 17-minute marker, but this time, both teams have a terror, and we're going to see some Rock'em Sock'em terror action in the middle of the map.
That's right. One of the reasons this map actually tends to go a little bit longer, one, due to its size, of course, but two, is that both teams are able to pick up their objective at the same time. But iDream, not looking to have any of that Rock'em Sock'em plant action, is good, beelining it right to the bottom lane to take out the fort.
But is he a little bit too far forward? Now remember, Maelstrom does have those level 20 talents, which is a bit of an advantage, but they still have to be careful and safe with their terror. But Quibsy is the one that is falling quickly. Anubarak with the burrow charge connecting with it. Quibsy's terror is down to just 20% HP, and the stage dive connects with nothing. Just gives him the positioning to try to lock down ETC, or excuse me, the Wailing Arrow comes out and it hits nothing. The Divine Shield mitigates the effect of that Wailing Arrow, and everyone from Tuark is full on scramble status right now.
And King Caffeine, K1 Pro, and Biceps providing a good bit of chase. The Water Elemental with the slows. They are able to finish that out, killing ETC. Oozer, of course, was falling on the bottom side. Actually looks as though Dunk Train was able to clean that up. And the third kill, possibly for Cloud9 Maelstrom, goes the way. Muradin falling. iDream still in the plant terror with 40 seconds remaining for any of those three heroes to pop up on the 2R Gaming side. iDream is going for the core.
Furious needs to be careful. That plant terror hits like a bus, and the terror is now wailing away onto the shield of that core. Look at the positioning on this overgrowth, making sure it locks down as many structures as possible. But King Caffeine needs to be careful. He's taking a lot of damage. The shields come out. They're just barely not enough.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of HP left for iDream on this plant terror. The core is down to 60, 50% HP. Trader using his strafe in a last-ditch effort to try to control the fight, but it is not going to be enough. Cloud9 Maelstrom will take a 1-0 advantage in this series versus 2Ark.
The GG well played comes out. Congrats to Cloud9 taking the first game, but again, this is a best-of-3 series, and 2Ark has plenty of time to make a comeback, and I have to say, they looked quite good in that game.
They did, running that double warrior composition. Very interesting. Quite a bit of a change in play style from what we saw from them in the round of 8, but really cool adaptations from both teams for this new patch.
All right, guys, well, we're going to get ready for game number 2. We're going to throw to a quick commercial break. Stay with us. Back in just a few. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Heroes of the Storm at WCA America 2015. I'm Solid Jake Kalinsky, joined by Corey Kubihover.
Ooh, very nice. And we just saw a crazy game one on Garden of Terror between 2Arc and Cloud9 Maelstrom. Crazy, a double warrior picked up for 2Arc. We saw the Anubarak grabbed once again, a bit of a different build, not the full Beetle build that we're used to seeing, which was, I think Anubarak has been picked up all of the games that we've seen so far today. So now that the teams have had some time to mess around with this new patch, Anubarak seems to be a very strong pick for these teams.
It was actually pretty cool because this morning when we woke up again, we went to full-on Theorycraft mode about what we might see in this new patch. And we were saying, of all the new heroes that have seen a lot of changes, I think Anub was probably the one that we said would be the most likely, and we've seen him played by a variety of teams. But Kubi, I think we got the draft ready to roll.
For sure. Okay, let's roll into it. Cloud9 Maelstrom with the first pick and the first ban. Lost Vikings, get him out of here. Which is interesting because 2Arc was the one that ended up banning it out in the previous match. So neither of these teams were really looking to try to have the counterplay for the Vikings.
And it's also interesting because we're switching in terms of which team has that first pick, first ban. So by removing the Vikings, they say, hey, 2Arc, you can remove Illidan, or you can remove Jaina, or something of that like, and we'll figure out our style based on that. Because generally, based on the first pick of a composition, the team is going to have something figured out based on what they've set up with those bans for that match.
Absolutely. I think 2Arc will, for sure, ban out Illidan. We have not seen it grabbed in any of this series, but Cloud9 was running Illidan in their previous series of this, and they looked very strong on that hero. They know how to build their compositions around it. If 2Arc does not ban out Illidan, they have to be prepared to play against it.
And that's not something that anyone wants to do right now. Illidan is so strong. No one is prepared for him.
That's right. I like that. That's good. And actually, they're dipping into their time pool for the ban, which is something that we don't see too often. So they're thinking about this, and perhaps this thought, okay, they are actually going to go with the Illidan ban. What is going to be the first pickup for Cloud9?
All right, so with Illidan being removed, we've seen teams prioritizing the early Muradin, but clearly, Cloud9 Maelstrom doesn't need him. They busted out the Anubarak with a different playstyle than we've seen in the other games, kind of a hybrid Anubarak style, and it worked out great. So, they will likely go for one of those big damage dealers, whether it be Jaina or Sylvanas. We'll find out.
2Arc picked up the Muradin very early in their draft. I think it was their first pick previously.
Yep.
So it was possible that if Cloud9 Maelstrom was looking to build a composition that included Muradin, they wanted to scoop him up early. 2Arc, do they still feel that same strength that Muradin provided, and do they grab him within the first two picks?
I don't know that Muradin worked out for them as well as they might have hoped. We did see that one Haymaker cost them a kill. I don't ever recall seeing the Haymaker make big plays, right? It separated Sylvanas towards the bottom left bruisers early on, and they got a kill in that. But beyond that, it didn't have a profound impact, especially when you consider it as a 40-second cooldown.
Yeah, they probably were a little bit scared to try to figure out who to isolate. When you pick the Haymaker, of course, you're giving up Avatar, which is a huge HP buff. It's also a lot of control in the form that he has microstuns on his auto attacks. So when you throw him into the middle of the fight to try to isolate or at least knock out one of those backline targets, whether it be the healer or the damage dealer, you need to make sure that the Muradin can get back out. But without that HP buff, it gets a little scary.
Well, they do, in fact, pick up Vala, and there's a high chance they will pick up Sylvanas to go with this because of the push potential that it does give you. Having both the Rangers, I mean, they're the bow ladies. They do so much damage to those minions and the structures. And like we mentioned, Muradin didn't have that kind of result that we might have expected, and I really do expect them to go with Tyrael in this game.
Yeah, it might be that both teams are looking to save their warrior picks to the end. We saw Maelstrom was very comfortable probably on ETC, Muradin, or Anubarak at this point. They said, we'll just make sure we get the priority picks early on in the draft. 2Arc still looking to pick up one of the remaining. Okay, they continue with Tassadar. They want to try to take that away from Maelstrom.
All right, so they're going for those super safe picks. One thing that you mentioned in the last game was 2Arc was going in for Tassadar, trying to eliminate him towards the start of the fights, and that was a flaw in their play. If they pick Tassadar up, that can't happen.
For sure. But Cloud9 Maelstrom, when they were given the opportunity after scooping up that early Jaina or that damage output, Brightwing. And we saw plays being made time and time again from Brightwing in that previous game. I think that they're going to go to grab this, because if they don't get it within these next 2 picks, 2ARC will probably try to steal that away.
Yeah, I mean, Dunk Train is quite seasoned on that hero, but there's still a lot of damage on the table. We have seen Sylvanas and Jaina be very good at pushing down those lanes. In a map like Cursed Hollow, if they decide to split push or go for a boss or anything like that, having those 2 on the team is just so much of a power potential.
Absolutely. There is the Muradin pick. So they want to try to make sure that they can get that warrior pick if they want to feel comfortable with it, because of course 2ARC hasn't picked up their warrior just yet, and Muradin, again, we've seen that during this patch seems to be a top pick from all of the teams.
Yeah, and they just pick up that Sylvanas as well, but this does leave Brightwing on the table for 2ARC to potentially steal, and that could be a big play, because again, Dunk Train's quite good there, and they do need to pick up a support. Tassadar, middle of the road, he has the kit that is very nice for supplementing the heals, but he cannot do the job alone.
That's true, yeah, and we have the very burst potential heals for Tassadar, but Brightwing might be what they need to provide that sustained heal over time, either with Gust of Healing. Well, actually, we've been seeing Cleanse picked up more often than not, but Blink Heal is very good for that, and also the Protective Shield that has been picked up at level 4. The Brightwing builds, I gotta say, are really starting to shift quite a bit.
It's cool seeing the promote, like you mentioned, seeing we have the option for Protective Shield, and we've even, I mean, Cleanse is an option, then Gust of Healing. Brightwing has been diversified quite a bit, but 2ARC is going for ETC. Now, earlier today, we saw Fury from Zevran make ridiculous plays on ETC. The new ETC is potentially even better than the old, because in the meta a few weeks ago, all we would see is Stage Dive, but now Mosh Pit is a disgusting threat.
Absolutely. And it seems as though they have the option to go for a second warrior, but do you think that that's their new style with this new patch? And do you think that the Anubarak pickup
to go from no warrior on Monday to double warrior on Wednesday, it is possible. That is what we saw in that last game. And yeah, that bonus pool is running out quickly, but they do in fact throw that steal onto Brightwing, and I would expect Dunk Train to respond with Uther.
Uther seems to be the second strong support in this meta. They need to make sure that they have control over those CCs. Cleanse seems to be very highly prioritized from a lot of teams. And there isn't necessarily a big target for Divine Shield, but we've even seen it run where there isn't a big person to dive in to get a lot of value. It's just a great way to make that snap call to save one of the members of your team, especially if there is a dive-style composition on the opposition.
And while we wait for Cloud9 to pick their final 2 heroes, just a quick friendly reminder that Kael'thas is in fact banned out for the duration of today. He will be available for the finals on June 1st, but today there will be no KT roster.
That's right. So we won't get to see the potential that he has, but of course, you're like you said, June 1st, so pay attention to how the meta is going to be developing over the next couple weeks for tournaments that are being thrown in here and there. But yes, as you mentioned, Uther, Falstad picked up. Now this, we haven't seen Falstad played at all today, or maybe even in the new patch, I'm trying to recall.
I don't think we have seen him played in the new patch, if I'm not mistaken, but we did see him play.
No, Trouble did play him.
But, well, Maelstrom definitely did play him on Monday. Now, they are known for the Falstad play, specifically on this map, because those long, narrow corridors where Hinterland's Blast will absolutely ruin your day and end your life.
That's a very good point. 2ARC, actually, we should mention this too, is there is the possibility of double promote. They do have the Brightwing, the Tassadar, so I'm not sure if they've had enough time to mess around with this. Of course, there was only the one game that had been displayed from Zevran with this particular style. So I don't know if they saw it and it was just like a kind of a fluke thing. Maybe they didn't see that much value in it, but it has been run quite a bit, especially from the Brightwings. But Tassadar also has the option to pick it up, and we've seen that duo run together to provide quite a bit of push.
Kubi, this is something I have not seen in a long time. The double pseudo-supports on the same team. There's a lot of healing capability between Tassadar, Brightwing, and Tyrande while still maintaining a fair amount of damage output. This is very cool, and this is 2ARC really going towards kind of an older strategy.
Do you expect to see a lot of shifts in the pseudo-support build to try to make that a bit more flexible to get higher damage output?
We'll definitely find out, but I think they're going to be leaning towards those protective shields to make sure they can deny the enemy heroes any of that burst potential that they might have.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, so we are going to be jumping into game number 2 between 2Arc Gaming and Cloud9 Maelstrom. Now, the interesting thing, once again, I have to say, is that 2Arc seems to be one of the few teams as of late that is being able to even take games off of Cloud9 Maelstrom. They are one of the strongest teams in the NA scene. Is 2Arc Gaming going to be able to take back an extra game to go to game 3? Guys, get on social media, get on Twitter, use the hashtag WCA 2015. Let us know what you guys think about these compositions that both teams have picked.
The second map of today is, in fact, going to be Cursed Hollow. We've seen these guys play on this map and countless times, so we are going to hop right on in to game number 2 of this best-of-3 series.
Absolutely. Let's get to introducing these teams. On the left side for Cloud9 Maelstrom, it's going to be King Caffeine on Murd, and K1 Pro will be on Jaina. iDream is going to be playing Sylvanas, Dunk Train on Uther, and Biceps will be rounding it out on Falstad.
On the other half of the map, we do, in fact, have Panucci playing as ETC. It's going to be Trader on Tassadar, Chubbs on Brightwing, Quibsy on Vala, and rounding out the team is Furious D, making 2Arc Gaming.
So, we don't have necessarily a very aggressive composition to be able to pick up from either side. Brightwing still opting to go for that scouting drone. Just getting that extra vision is very paramount, I think. For any of the teams, they recognize the advantages that provides.
Yeah, and ETC just kind of dancing around, using that power slide, making sure his guitar is feeling right in this moment. And we can see these scouting drones placed in these wonderful spots that reveal so much information to a potential rotation coming out of the opposing team.
Jake, what's that I see over on level 1 for Falstad? Is that updraft? The increased range on the barrel roll, yes.
We were just talking about this talent last night as being something that he very much likes to pick up. It gives him that mobility and the potential for aggression with it, whether it be escape or chase. Very cool pickup.
And now that we see that the sides have flipped for Muradin, it looks as though Cloud9 Maelstrom is prioritizing that reverberation at level 1. There is the Archon potential for 2Arc Gaming, and we have to keep that in mind that that can really do a lot to chunk out the DPS of that Archon.
And we have this constant threat for rotations on the map. That's why we see pretty much everyone at Cloud9 in the front lines constantly looking for the kills, but 2Arc, they're hanging back a lot, very often just sticking near their turrets in the back line.
Yes, you're right. It's just showing that they have that respect for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They realize they haven't seen K1 Pro and King Caffeine in some time. There they are. The Oracle from Tassadar is going to reveal them, and they're just going to poke out, realizing that they have been seen, and just push out this lane.
So if you're Tassadar and you pop your Oracle and you happen to see 3 or 4 targets, you go, ooh, I found you. What does Tassadar think in that moment?
That's just terrifying. And he backs up. Yes, he does have the dimensional shift to get out of a lot of those situations, but hold on a second. iDream perhaps caught out of position, and the Haunting Wave is actually going to be enough. He actually casted that before the rest of the stunts went out. A really nice heads-up play to make sure that he would be able to survive. And Vala actually ends up falling in the counter-aggression in the bottom lane. Chubbs is getting body blocked beautifully from King Caffeine.
I can't believe Sylvanas lived there, but like you mentioned, that's 2 kills being picked up very quickly here in the middle of the map with a rotation. The body blocks are so real, and Furious D is looking to be the 3rd delicious plate on this menu.
That's right, dinner's ready, and Furious D is on the menu, and this is going to put 2Arc Gaming really very much so on the back foot. We are actually, yes, the first tribute has spawned. I was going to say, we're right at that time. There is a little bit of variability in which these spawn, but this is going to give Cloud9 Maelstrom with a whole level lead right now a good amount of advantage for picking up this tribute.
Now, Biceps right now channeling that first tribute. Quibsy needs to be safe. K1 Pro going around the backside, laying down the combo. Can Uther get there with the stun? No, the polymorph from Chubbs is going to be enough, but that does allow them the time to pick up the first tribute of the game.
Yes, and that's a big deal. The promote was actually picked up for Tassadar at level 4, but not with Brightwing, which is the opposite of how we've seen it picked up. Sometimes the healing ward was grabbed for Tassadar, so that's kind of an interesting play. I'd be curious to see if they were able to make enough use out of that promote on Tassadar, as he doesn't have the mobility that Brightwing does.
Yeah, but it's really cool to see this talent just being picked up by so many different teams at this point in time, especially a map as big as Cursed Hollow. But we have to remember the power of Sylvanas. She can shut those minions down oh so very quickly, just nullifying the effect of that promote.
We have the double and Venom scooped up for Cloud9 Maelstrom. This just goes to show that they don't necessarily have the most aggressive lineup, but they have the capability to make these rotations. And we do see the pair of ladies rotating up to the top lane. And yes, Panucci, smart heads-up play, saw the potential for this rotation and just backed up accordingly.
My two favorite ladies in the game, Sylvanas and Jaina, were unable to pick up a kill, but we do see a rotation out of Tuark. Quibsy going into enemy lines. He's going to check out these bruisers. No one's there. That allows him to have a bit of information on the position of Cloud9 Maelstrom.
Okay, it looks as though Tyrande, and hold on a second, somehow, we didn't quite catch this, but Tassadar was picked up, and he is someone who, especially with that Oracle and Dimensional Shift, is quite immune to these types of rotations, but Cloud9 Maelstrom was able to scoop that up. That's going to provide quite a bit of an advantage for grabbing this second tribute, which would put them on tribute point, if you want to call it that. They would be able to grab their curse with the following tribute, which puts a lot of pressure on Tuark.
Especially considering that one level deficit that Tuark is currently faced with. If we do have the second tribute picked up, that will set them up with heroics for the third tribute spawn. But right now, Furious D is more concerned about surviving. The Lunar Flare will connect. Haunting Wave, not quite enough for iDream to secure that kill.
Yes, but the positioning is absolutely on point. K1 Pro ready to back up the team in grabbing that second tribute. So like we mentioned, the next tribute that spawns, Tuark Gaming is going to have to put a lot of resources into making sure that they capture it so that they can try to deny Cloud9 Maelstrom this curse.
Very nicely done by Chubbs, using that phase shift to come up there and make sure that Quibsy can stay alive, but this pulls him out of the bottom lane, and he is immediately rotating back down. King Caffeine has to dwarf toss back to his base. He's going to hearth home to get some mana.
Interesting that a CC heavy team such as Cloud9 Maelstrom's lineup, they have the Stormbolt, they have the Uther, potentially grabbing Divine Shield, but no cleanse for Brightwing. Is that going to be? Is that Gust of Healing, Jake?
That is, in fact, Gust of Healing,
yep.
And we almost never see Regenerative Rains anymore. It just has really fallen out of favor from the burst potential that Gust of Healing has. The reason that this is somewhat okay is the sheer AoE damage that is on the other side. With Jaina, Falstad, and Sylvanas all having AoE, Gust of Healing might be what they need to get through this. The Haunting Wave for iDream seems to be enough. He's back on his base, and Quibsy is being body blocked into oblivion. One hero down on the side of Tuark, but Cloud9, they're not done yet. They're going to pick up another kill, a third kill, and only Tyrande will get out of that fight.
This game is really starting to run away for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They just hit level 10. The kills are 7-0. They have a 2-0 tribute advantage. They are going to be able to pick up a curse, as there are two members of Tuark Gaming that are still dead. Let's take a look at some of the heroics that were picked up. We have Hinterland's Blast, Water Elemental, the Avatar, Wailing Arrow for Sylvanas. Uther still has yet to decide. Could be that Divine Storm or the Shield, depending on how they want to play it.
Oh my gosh, Kubi, and while we were reading those off, Tyrande actually did lose her life. We're at 8 kills to 0 at this point in time, and Uther, he can make that snap call to pick up that heroic whenever he pleases. One fort has fallen, the push from Falstad in the middle lane is there, and this will line them up for boss, whatever they want to grab right now.
Tyrande is back up, but you're right, the heroic disadvantage is very large. Doesn't look as though they want to try to take the offensive boss. They're still looking to make the structural push in this middle lane to try to widen that experience.
Look at King Caffeine's position. Okay, he's not being... Oh, he's thinking about it. He can dwarf toss over that wall if he sees vulnerability, and there he goes in. The Stormbolt Hinterlands combo, they immediately remove Vala from this fight, and there we see Trader is hit with a silence. It hits both Brightwing and Tassadar, and they will both end up falling in this fight. Even Panucci and Furious D are at risk of elimination, and Panucci looks like the cow will be alone in his journey home.
Wow, that was a very nice dwarf toss over the wall to start the fight off with the lockdown, and just to follow that up with the stun, and of course the Hinterland's Blast. That combo was just very much so on point. Nicely orchestrated from Cloud9 Maelstrom. They are showing why they are the dominant team, and they're ready to go to the finals.
Kubi, I almost want to say this pickup is a misclick. I'm not too sure. Shadowstalk has been picked up by Tyrande, and I don't know if they have the roaming potential to really eliminate someone so quickly in this game.
Well, it would have helped them in that last fight to see if Muradin was over that wall. It does reveal the location of all the enemy heroes on the enemy team, and it gives you a cloak for all the heroes on your side. So, yes, you can make some big plays with it if you have that dive style composition. We've seen it run in the past with Tyrael. I'm not so sure that they can make that kind of play, but maybe they're going to use it to try to set up a very large mosh pit.
That is actually a decent idea. We'll see what they can make of it, but we have the ping coming up for Tyrande. Dwarf Toss going for it by Murden. They're going to steal these aggressive Giants, forcing Torque back. It is 14-11, a 3-level lead, and that is in fact a talent advantage.
We're only 9 minutes into the game, but all 3 of the forts onto our gaming side of the map have fallen. The curse was devastating. Cloud9 Maelstrom was able to pick up a numerous amount of kills to be able to push that advantage forward, and they're looking unstoppable.
Yeah, they are the top team in North America for a region, and they want to make their way to the grand finals, but the game is young. 9 minutes in, Cloud9 is looking to take the first boss.
Level 13 has been hit, of course, for Cloud9 Maelstrom. Let's take a look at some of these talents. We do have the shrink ray. Now that's an interesting pickup, probably, again, to try to mitigate the damage output from Archon.
All right, let's talk about this. The boss was picked up by Falstad. They left him behind because he can fly. There's his flight path. They are in the face of Tuark, who is attempting to take this boss. The Hinterland Blast from downtown picks up 1 kill, 2 kills, 3 kills. Oh my goodness, Quibsy, they are just evaporating. That is a 4 for nothing and a steal on a boss. Huge plays by Maelstrom.
That was ridiculous. The snap call from Biceps to throw out that Hinterland's Blast set up so much damage for Cloud9 Maelstrom. This is going to be a massive amount of structural push. They're not quite going to be able to end the game just based on how short the death timers are, but they're going to be able to take a keep for sure.
Yeah, this top keep is going to go down. They've done half of its health points, and they just walk away because they do have a boss in queue just marching on down. But the bottom boss has nearly taken out this first tower. Nicely done. So much pressure put up by Cloud9, and they're 16. 2 talent advantage, 2 talent tiers ahead.
Given that, I have to say I'm very shocked that they didn't even try to stay and push forward this keep. 2 talent tiers is something that is very difficult to see in competitive Heroes of the Storm. Just goes to show you how cleanly Cloud9 Maelstrom is playing. This is a massive power difference between the 2 teams, and it is literally impossible for Tuark to take a fight.
And that's the crazy thing, Kubi. We talked about this in the introduction. This is by no way a mismatch. Cloud9 has actually literally dropped a single game in the ESL Major League, and that's to Tuark.
Right.
And here they are sitting 4 levels ahead. Absolutely phenomenal play by Cloud9.
For sure. Level 13 now just picked up. So, yes, there's still that talent differential, but that is a 3, almost 4 level difference at this point. They're going to have to come up with some kind of crazy positioning or try to catch members of Cloud9 Maelstrom, maybe use baiting or something to that effect. They need to come up with some kind of weird play to catch members of Cloud9 out of position.
But look at this confidence. They leave Falstad back here to pick up the tribute. He can fly into battle, and they are putting massive presence in this top lane, which is already very weak because of that golem.
That's right. And they're trying to get the shields onto it, keep it alive in time to push Cloud9 Maelstrom back. Keeping these structures alive in the inner line is going to be paramount for Tuark to make this comeback.
Right now, Brightwing is soaking that bottom lane, trying to catch up in levels. They have hit 13 to get those talents, but he's going to have to phase shift onto Panucci. The Emerald Wind comes out, pushing back King Caffeine and Jaina, but the invulnerability is going to be enough to keep Jaina alive. Trader is getting very low. The Dimensional Warp does dissipate, and he will end up losing his life. And that Hinterland's Blast is dodged. Nicely done, but doesn't matter. 1 kill is there. Stormbolt onto that player. Fala is going to end up falling, and the keep has been eliminated.
Wow, and they have Giants also pushing down this lane. It doesn't look as though Cloud9 Maelstrom is trying to end the game, but they have a significant advantage.
Kubi, this is not a tab I pull up often. We're going to hit the tab screen to see that it is, in fact, 0-19 in terms of kills.
Yeah.
This is just absolute crazy play. Sylvanas with a massive damage in this game. Really impressive stuff.
What is the potential for them to make a comeback at this point? A 4-level deficit. Can't stress that enough. Something that is very rare to see in a Heroes of the Storm competitive match of this caliber. King Caffeine looking to deny Chubbs the denial of taking that. That is the second curse of the game.
Yeah, they forced the Emerald Wind very early. Having that on cooldown for a full minute is just going to net even more of an advantage pushing into this lane. There's a curse, a heroics on cooldown, and they have a 4-level lead. That is huge.
For sure, and it looks as though Cloud9 Maelstrom is looking to rotate in the bottom lane, continuing to take this mercenary camp advantage. Once again, that level lead is so big, but they're just playing patiently. They don't want to try to make any throw situations don't want to give 2Arc Gaming any opportunities to make a comeback in this game.
Yeah, just push clean, push smart, and take the advantage when they overstep their bounds during this defense. But at the same time, they have to be careful. If they slip up, 2Arc can take a clean team fight, and that will put them back in the game.
Yes, it will do a lot to net them an experience, at least not a lead, of course, taking one of these fights, but the underdog bonus is very real, and actually the Influence Blast was set up for Biceps. It was able to pick a kill off, and that is 3 heroes down. With the curse active, they can just march right past that keep to the core if they want to. They're going to clean that up. Quibsy and Chubbs are left for the defense.
Yeah, but Kubi, I don't think it's going to be enough. The Wailing Arrow connecting with Quibsy. The Bolt of the Storm going out. Excuse me, just the Bolt. And that is going to be an ace. Cloud9 Maelstrom has done it. They take a decisive 2-0 victory over 2Arc Gaming.
That was, as you said, decisive. What was the kills? 24-0. Once again, Cloud9 Maelstrom really showing why they are the strongest team in the NA meta, and I'm really excited to see what Tempo Storm and Cloud9 Maelstrom are going to bring to the finals on June 1st here in the Burbank studio.
That's right, Kubi. That means that both Tempo Storm and Cloud9 will be flown out here to Burbank, California to compete live in a tournament with $15,000 up for grabs in that situation. But the teams that fell today, 2Arc Gaming and Zevron, they played formidably, and they will each be rewarded with 3rd and 4th place prizes of $2,000 apiece.
Yeah, and considering that that's 3rd and 4th for a Heroes of the Storm tournament at this point, that just goes to show you how big the prize pool is. As we can see, we're looking at the bracket. There it is, Cloud9 Maelstrom and Tempo Storm advancing to the finals.
I cannot wait for those games. That's actually going to be the first ever live broadcast in America where the teams are playing outside of BlizzCon. This is a huge event. WCA is making things happen for Heroes of the Storm, and it's a phenomenal opportunity for these teams and for us as casters.
Absolutely, and it will be probably the last tournament just before the game is put live to full release. So they're going to have some time to settle down, figure out what's going on with this patch, come up with even more crazy strategies to move forward, and I'm just really excited to see how the meta is going to develop over these next couple of weeks.
Oh, it's going to be phenomenal. Kael'thas being thrown in the mix, but
That's
guys,
right.
Get on social media. Let us know what you thought about the games today and who you think will take the finals. Tempo Storm and Cloud9 are the last 2 teams standing, so let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. He's the Kubi. I'm Solid Jake GG, and that's going to do it for us here at the WCA 2015 Pro Invitational.